All right, welcome back, guys. Sean here with Blue Ridge Silverhound. We have the Pocket Change Market Report, the midweek edition, October 22, 2025. I want to thank you guys for tuning in as we deep dive into what has been selling on eBay. A lot of things that you and I have been finding out there in the world today, going through bank rolls is a pretty big one. Coin roll hunting is very popular right now with the rising price of silver. A lot of folks are going back to the drawing board and roll hunting some of the favorites to find some of that. But also, Lincoln Cent roll hunting is becoming very popular as well with the upcoming news of the discontinuation indefinitely of the Lincoln Cent after 2026. It's really bringing a lot of people back into roll hunting Lincoln Cents in the hopes of finding maybe some long lost errors and varieties because we don't know what the outlook's going to be after next year. A lot of these coins may end up getting destroyed or just not being found after a while. So a lot of attention being paid for right there. But another way to look for some of these coins is if you're an avid show attendee or you like to go to coin shops, you could cherry pick a few of these for a much lower cost, turn around and flip it on eBay, make money as kind of like a side hustle. So a lot of folks are doing that today with pretty good success. So we're going to take a look at these here momentarily. By the way, did you guys know that I'm on Whatnot, one of the fastest growing live social media platforms today? We have a show here in about a couple hours, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 o'clock Eastern, a little bit later show, which is what we like to do on Wednesday nights. We have part 2 of the East Bay Horde of Lincoln Cent BU rolls. Boy, these things are hot. We got more of them to sell. We ended up buying a large position. Tonight we are going to be doing part 2. Another 30 to 40 lots will be available tonight. Come check things out. If you're looking to expand your position in sealed OBW roll inventory, now is the time to pounce. Again, after next year, there's no guarantee that we'll be able to find these ever again. And, now's a good time to enhance that sealed equity pool. A great way to invest because these things are just going to keep going up. So come check things out. You could use the QR code to scan it in if you haven't joined up yet. Save yourself $15 right now by signing up under me. You can either use that code or you could use the links down below in the description box. We'll also have it pinned to the comment section as well if you want to use that. It's quick and easy. The process takes like literally a minute, and you're going to be, knee deep into a lot of fun. Again, we're going to be on tonight, so hope to see you guys there. All right, so we're going to go ahead and kick things off with a coin that I have never personally seen before in my life on a Jefferson nickel, and this one has me very excited. A little bit of a misaligned die strike here, but there's a lot more to it. The coin is not in the greatest of shapes. A lot of people have ignored this one example for a long time, but this one hides a nice, cool little secret that will get you guys excited. So we're all familiar with cut die breaks, right? Usually we see that either on the front or the back of the coin. That's all as a result of the dies, going through their normal wear and tear stuff as they're producing the coins, and little pieces crack, they fall out, things of that nature, and then, when they strike the coins, it leads to some pretty amazing results. But did you guys know that there are cuts on the collar, which is the device, the ring that holds the coin in place during the strike? That in itself is a die. If we were to look at any other denomination like dimes, quarters, half dollars, things like that, they actually have the little lines on the edge. They call them reeds. That is the edge. That in a way is a die that creates the reading on those particular coins. So they do serve a purpose. But did you know those things break as well? So we have this one here called a collar cut, where the actual collar broke or chipped. And as a result, when it strikes the coins, wherever there's a missing cavity to the collar, it's going to just fill in with metal flow, creating this this event where the metal kind of like blobs up, billows out, so to speak. And then we also see that on the edge as well of coins if the color has been through some pretty rigorous stuff. So this is a color cut on a Jefferson nickel. I would say this is probably the first one I've ever seen of this, and it is true blue. I mean, it looks good. It passes the sniffer test from what I see here, and the seller did a really good job with the photography, by the way. So yeah, this one did surprise other collectors as well because they ended up selling for $73.95 with 7 total bids. So people knew what this was. They bid up very hardy, very healthy into this coin, and it is really, really neat find. That might be a reason why we start looking at the edge of our coins is to see something like this. Something that otherwise we just don't encounter because they are quite rare. Next one that we have here, getting back into more simplistic over here, is a silver Roosevelt dime. We don't know what the date is, however, because there was a strip that had disappeared right where the date is. This is a delamination. So there's a regular lamination, which is still retained on the coin, or you could say that even lamination is a delamination as well. Delamination is simply put, that little piece that was on the coin is gone. So it had fallen off at one point. This one has the Denver mid mark, by the way, on the reverse, so you know it's 90% silver. Pretty neat one here. Didn't sell for a whole lot, $6 with a trio of bids. So, maybe it just didn't interest a lot of people, or maybe they were put off by the pink background. I doubt it's the background. I think it's cool that folks are using different colors, as kind of an identity for their eBay sales page, I guess. So it works out. $6, but it's about double melt value off of this one, so it's better than not having $6, I would say. This one is affectionately referred to as the APMEX cut. Okay, I'll explain here in a second. It's the 1974D Lincoln Memorial Cent with a cut die break right there at the end of the word trust on the front. Again, piece of the die had fallen out. When it strikes the coins, all the metal flow goes into that path of least resistance, into that empty cavity in the die, filling it up and creating this guy that you see here. So the reason why this has the nickname APMEX cut, we're all familiar with the precious metals company APMEX, right? Well, at one point, and they might have some available on their website, they used to have full rolls of these. This one very cut, they would have full rolls of 50 that they were selling, I think for like $300-400 or something like that. But they had acquired a large position of these, probably through a sealed bank bag back in the day. And they found a whole bunch of them. They decided, well, we're going to go ahead and monetize off this. We're going to go ahead and roll them up and then sell them. And sold them. They did. They sold a bunch of rolls of these. And now folks are going through these and they're selling the individual coins on eBay. So we've seen quite a few of these for sale over the last few years. And they're quite common. They're quite common to the point that, unfortunately, it's really diminished the value of this particular cut that otherwise would be maybe a $40-50 coin at one point. This one here is selling for $17. I believe it was a buy it now type hit, where they just put it up for $15 plus shipping, and then someone picked it up. But these things aren't selling in conjunction or as well as like some of the other cuts, which we'll see later on in the show. We have a few nice ones. Pretty cool one here, 1970. It looks like it's either a Denver or San Francisco. You can actually see a remnant of a mid-mark there. This guy right here was struck through a very late stage cap die. So there was actually a coin that was stuck to the obverse face of that die. Just was never dislodged, and it was striking a bunch of other coins. Okay, so after a while, that coin that was stuck to the die became very razor thin to the point where the original design of the die is punching through that and onto the host coin. That's why we refer to it as a very late stage, is because that cap is like razor thin, almost like paper at this point. And probably it's right around this point where a mint employee would dislodge that that cap, and it just really make sure that the press is going to be running just fine as a result of that. This one here, another buy it now hit, $12, sold for cheap because this is more akin to what cut die breaks sell for. They usually go for about $30 to $50 depending on the coin, the date, things like that. This one is given away in a way. Cool one here. 1983 Proof set. You are actually buying the whole Proof set here. But this is one of the dates to be on the lookout for one very specific special coin. And that's going to be the No S 1983 Roosevelt dime. All right. If you want to, go back about 5 seconds. Look at all the other coins. And you're going to notice that 4 of the 5 have a physical San Francisco mint mark. It's a letter S somewhere on the coin. Usually it's right close in proximity to the date. The Roosevelt dime does not have one. It was actually left off the working die by mistake. So they ended up striking a few of the coins and they ended up getting released into the proof sets. Now, we just talked about one of these on the most recent Monday Market Report a couple days ago, where it graded out a perfect proof 70. That one ended up selling for $5,000. A very expensive, very desirable coin in today's market. Any of the missing mint mark proof coins, let alone that 1982 business strike Roosevelt dime that's missing the mint mark, all very desirable. And they're quite expensive. Now, you could opt to keep it as a set here. I think that's pretty cool, but I think this is one of those cases, and I usually don't promote coin grading unless absolutely necessary. This is one of those times where I would probably take the chance, because even if it doesn't come back a perfect 70, it comes back maybe a Proof 69 DCAM, it's still going to be like a $2,000 plus coin. This one right here, they ended up selling the entire proof sets. Someone definitely got a good deal here for $774.95. I would like to ask you guys, is this a coin that maybe should have been graded? Would you grade it? I'd probably say I would, because, proof coins are very well struck. They're of the highest quality, even going back into the 1980s. I would say, yeah, I would definitely take a flyer on this one, send it out, and, get that No S right on the slab label, and you can make a whole lot more money. Something to keep in mind. Man, this thing is awesome. Very nice 1943 steel cent with a huge, long cut die break right at the base of Lincoln's bust. You can even actually see some of the weakness on the reverse over the word pluribus, which is pretty much obliterated because you don't have that same pressure in that section because of the missing piece of the die. So this one right here, someone scooped this up so fast through a buy it now of $165, which is a pretty good price tag. But considering it is one of the most widely collected singular dates of coins, because it's a very niche, very unique composition, okay, with a lot of historical meaning. Yeah, this thing ended up selling really well, and I'm glad it sold out really fast. Even at that lofty number right there, it did not scare a certain collector. Just a really neat one here. This one probably overperformed. 1865 3-cent nickel. It's got a nice die clash, I can tell you that. But if you look up toward the top of the front of the coin, right next to the word of, you can see like a long, thin kind of die break. It's actually a die crack that was beginning to dissect through that coin right there. And this one ended up selling for $73.65. It's the one singular date, bar none, of 3-cent nickel where you can find die clashing, retained cuts, cut die breaks, bisecting die cracks. There was a lot of quality issues with this coin for something that was only needed to help fulfill postage. That's why this coin existed. Kind of funny story. Boy, this thing is awesome. I tried for years looking for this, but it's really quite rare. It's in the Cherry Picker's Guide. So 1857 Indian or Flying Eagle cents. Okay, first year of what they call the small cents as it transitioned away from the much larger, heftier large cents. 1857 is a great year for a lot of varieties. A ton of them. But one in particular is this one here that was actually clashed with a $20 Liberty Double Eagle. You can see the clashing on the obverse, albeit these are not the greatest photos. You can see right where America is. See where it says ERI on America right there? That's actually Lady Liberty's lips on an earlier $20 Liberty Gold. Really quite cool. You can see the chin and the nape of the neck as it goes through the tail feathers there. And then the back of the hair and all that is right where the beak is. Yeah, this was found out by some of the professional Indian head and flying eagle folks. Rick Snow, in particular, did a whole bunch of research on this. And there's actually a couple what they call multi-denominational clashes. That's what this one is. There was also another one that was clashed with a seated quarter. There was also another one that was clashed with, I'm trying to think of it. I think it was... So there was one that was clashed with the seated quarter, and then there was another one clashed with a $20 Indian, and then, the $half seated. Seated $half was the third one, and you can see that on the obverse. So 3 different Cherry Picker's Guide multi-denominational clashes exist for this coin. And they were all very desirable, especially the higher the grade. These things get really insane. This one right here, by the way, is selling for $1,357.95 with 10 bids. These don't pop up on the secondary market that often. When they do, man, fireworks really go off. There was, I think, an AU-55 version of this coin that sold, I would say, probably within the last 5 years, for over $10,000. So that just gives you kind of little perspective, insight on how far these things can reach in the market today. And as you can tell, this one's not graded. It ended up selling, for what the full market is in this condition, because the pictures were just good enough to make out the clashing. 1935 D. $1 silver certificate, this one with a gutter fold there on the left, which is simply a wrinkle in the sheet that was printed over. That's how that happens. And, normally it affects the number of the notes. Now, this was a very common occurrence back then when they were producing, like silver certificates and things like that, because they produced so many of them that, at the time, quality was not really of a concern during this time. So with that being said, look how well worn this one is. It's one person's trash, another person's treasure, I guess you could say. This one, by the way, selling for $124.99. Pretty good sale for an otherwise raggedy looking note there. And then we also have this one here, another 35D, $1 silver certificate. Kind of looks like the previous one. This one was well loved, and this one will shock you guys, because for as much as it was used and how many times it's changed hands over the years, that was on the reverse. A completely tilted, misaligned reverse of this thing. Again, needle refresher, the front is hammered, centered. The back is not. So this is not a miscut. I actually had someone say, "Oh, that's not a misalignment, that's a miscut." Really, genius? Are both sides the same way? No, it's not. That's what this is here. Cool note. Even in this condition, it ended up selling for $199.99. We'll call it 2 bills there. Pretty good one. Just a really great looking clip on this 1981D Washington quarter. The coin is actually in fairly nice shape. This one is very impressive in my eyes. This one ended up selling for $15.50 with 6 bids. And let's not forget, again, for all of you roll hunters out there looking for silver, you might want to keep an eye out on a few of the coins that are missing the FG initials on the reverse of these Kennedys. 1972D is the toughest of them all. This one is what they call the missing or no FG initials for Frank Gasparo, who was the designer of the reverse of this coin. It is the FS901. It is a Cherry Picker's Guide variety. This one's selling for $12.99. I think they used a stock photo for this particular picture because this one's like mid-state, whereas the coin that was sold is not. It's probably more like XF condition. But much nicer, higher grade examples of this coin tend to sell for like 40, 50 bucks and higher. So keep that in mind. If you find a mid-state example of the No FG 72D, that's a good one to keep. Just a really nice $2 bill here, 1976, featuring a very low serial number, 633, and it's a star note. The seller also mentions, this is Ronald J, by the way. He's one of the big sellers of fancy serial numbers and error notes as well. This one with a little bit of a miscut or misalignment. As you can tell, there's barely any margin on the left side compared to the right. You can see it just a little bit on the reverse, nothing too crazy. But the serial number and the fact that it's a star note just really lights out on this one. $87.99, 30 bids was the final result there. Holy strike through. Man, those dies were dirty. Dirty with grease and all sorts of other crap on there. When they were producing this 2000, don't even know what the mid-mark is. It's not there. Because guess what? All the grease and stuff that was on the dies just really obscured the strike on this one. But yeah, I mean, again, we're talking about coins, hard to believe that had circulated to this extent. I mean, this thing is no beauty queen, that's for sure. This one here is selling for $26.40. So very extreme. Strike-throughs of this type are very nice. They are very wildly eye-appealing. And people tend to pay a little bit more for them because of that. Here's another piece of currency, $1985 bill. Okay, it looks like a miscut, but it's more of a misaligned second print, which is the base block print of the front of the note. That's print process number 2. And then the third print is the overprint. So, judging from the actual size of the note, okay, the overprint is perfectly centered on it, but that base second print is not. Check out the reverse, centered. So, is it a miscut? No, it's not. If it was, you could see that reflective on the back as well. So this one right here sold for $107.75 with 17 bids. Beautiful note, very nice high grade, crispy uncirculated example. We have this one here. It's a bicentennial, 1976D with the Independence Hall reverse candy half dollar. Another strike through. Yeah, look at that on the obverse. You know, you got a few letters in Liberty missing, but you could kind of like see like where the trail of grease that was on the reverse. You can even see it right where the ear and the hair that's on top of the ear right there. It's all very smooth and very, very weak in its strike. These were again struck with some pretty dirty dies here. This one, by the way, is selling for $20.31. Just keep an eye out on bicentennial coinage. They are certainly moving, with the 2026 250th anniversary gala happening next year. It's going to be something, that we all need to be a part of. Because, it might only be the one time where we could celebrate our country in this way. There you go. That's a proper cud. We saw the collar cud earlier. We saw the 1974D APMEX cud. And then here you go. 1988 Lincoln Memorial Cent large cud right on the obverse under the date and covering up most of the bottom of his bust there. Lincoln's bust, that is. This one's selling for $99.06. That's more like it. That's a pricey one there, by the way. 1968D Lincoln Memorial Cent. This one struck off center. Looks like about 55%, somewhere around there. A very tougher date, by the way. And a lot of folks are collecting these by date these days. 68D we've seen before. I think we're seeing it more now today than we ever have. It used to be a very tough date a couple years ago. And then now, we're seeing more of this date pop up on the secondary market. Nice full red example. And very clean, no carbon spots from what I can see. And it's got a full readable date and mid mark, and it's pretty well off center to the point where it's quite desirable. $54.65 on this one here. Very nice. One of my favorites, you can find this in just about any grade. The lower grade examples are going to be easier to find compared to some of the higher end examples where these things get really out of sight pricey. 1897 Indian head scent. This is the one in the neck variety. It is a cherry picker's guide variety and a great snow variety as well. And this one, condition wise, is really nothing to write home to mother about. Okay, so this is one of those instances where, you know, the coin is going to be worth what it's worth in this condition. You can see like the top little flag of the one poking out of the neck there. Lady Liberty was hungry for numbers, ended up swallowing that one, and then it got stuck in there. That's how I look at that. $43.95 for a coin. Otherwise, someone cherry picked for maybe $2 or less, especially one that goes unattributed. That's how you cherry pick, is to look for things like this that otherwise the dealers miss, you know, all the time. So that's even in this condition, still a $40 bill here. So don't toss these out. Doesn't matter what they look like. Here's another cud right here, right over the date. The date is almost completely gone, but we do know it's from the 1900s. You remember that century? Boy, every time I hear, you know, like a Gen Z tell me, oh yeah, you were born in the 1900s. I'm like, you damn right I am. And I'm proud of it, because we were able to see coins like this. You know, this one is just a really nice cud. Weird photos. There's some weird photos here this week. Like not totally like, you know, the best that I've seen, but they passed. They passed because they made the sale here. $60.15 is what this one sold for, and this is honestly one that I don't see that often, even without a legible date on there. This particular cud, yeah, I don't see this one that often, and I've seen a lot. 1983, this one taken with microscope photos, is a pretty big variety, even in this condition. You remember that whole video I did like a week ago? It says ugly cells. We've seen a few ugly coins here this week. This one of them. It's not the greatest looking, but shoot, you know, it's the FS 801 double die reverse. This one is about as strong as you could get for a double die of this era. Selling for $88 with 14 bits, by the way, which is just absolutely awesome, considering its condition, which is not great at all. I'm worried about the future of this coin, because, you know, the copper-plated Zinkins, they're not long for this world. The way that they were made to crumble and wither away, you know, like dust and wind, that old song. That they play at funerals all the time. It makes me sad every time I hear it. But this is a cool one here. And with obvious reason, this thing is some of the strongest doubling on the reverse that you will ever come across on a Lincoln cent. And this is looking like the last coin for today. Those 1980s, 1990s Washington quarters, with these big, huge cuts that cover the entire date, because that is a weakened area on the die, by the way, which is why you see a lot of these out there. This was a very pretty coin with a major cut die break right at the date. We don't even know what the date is. It was produced in Philadelphia. It was Philadelphia Nuts, always producing these wild and zany varieties and errors. I wish I were ever so that lucky to be that close to that mint. I tell you what, I'd go ham on some roll hunting. But this thing is really nice on the case of that condition. You can tell this one's from like the early 90s because it's got the spaghetti hair thing happening there on Washington. That used to be the running joke back then, you know, because as they modified the portrait, getting ready for the Statehood Quarter Series, by the time you got to 1998... yeah, you could throw some sauce over his head and enjoy dinner one night. That's how spaghetti-ish his hair was at that time. $169.60. Dang, that's pricey. I've seen some right around the $100 mark, but, you know, depending on what they look like, the pictures, by the way, are next level. These are about as crispy clean as you will ever come across. And it takes some pretty good skills to be able to photograph coins that look like this. You know, they're just sitting in your hand. It's kind of crazy. Well, that's going to go ahead and wrap her up for today. We have to get ready for our show for tonight, which again is at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 o'clock Eastern on Whatnot. Again, the information in this video is for educational use only, not financial advice. Please do collect and or grade your coins very responsibly. I'm your host, Sean, with Blue Ridge Silverhound. Thank you guys so much again for a great show. And hopefully you guys got a little bit of, just desire to go out there and look for some of these for yourself. As we get closer to 2026, the fun is about to really click in. I cannot wait for all these new designs of coins that they're going to do for next year. So I'm out of here. You guys take care. Have a great night. Hopefully I'll see you guys live here in a few hours. Take care.